They say some businesses are too big to fail. Well, one big business is dying pretty quickly, but it's pretty sad.
The following is a World-Class Bullshitters exclusive.
The long-time expected layoffs at Pixar animation studios have begun. Today, leadership at the storied company that traces its origin back to the late Steve Jobs and was bought by Disney in 2006 will notify employees of reductions, The Hollywood Reporter has learned. It's the biggest restructuring in Pixar's history, although top leadership isn't impacted. Approximately 14% of Pixar's workforce, or around 175 employees, will be let go. Before the reductions, approximately 1,300 people worked at the animation studio. The layoffs are part of Disney chief Bob Iger's overarching mandate to return to a focus on quality versus churning out content for streaming, which was a priority of his short-lived successor, Bob Chapek. Disney execs have talked about returning to a focus on quality during numerous earnings calls this year, saying creative teams across the company were stretched too thin in the arms race to feed streamers. Fans aren't surprised by this news, and neither am I. And now, folks, let's talk about this a little longer outside of the short. So it really is disappointing that this is the direction Pixar and Disney are taking, because read that press release. No one at the top is being let go, but 175 animators, lower-level employees, they're being let go. They're suffering for the bad decisions made by Disney. People aren't watching less entertainment, people are watching less Disney entertainment. Disney entertainment has been poisoned. Now, we can save you a spiel about ideology or wokeness or any of that crap, but this is the result of that. You can call them woke, you can call them bad, you can call them underwhelming, you can call them anything, but what you can't call them is successful, because you only restructure a business in this way if your shows, your movies, your products are not performing. And that's exactly what's happening with Pixar. Disney Plus was a mistake. It was too much too fast. Disney bet their hedge on the fact that the pandemic was going to ruin and change the world. It did for other reasons, but not for the entertainment consumption. What happened was a bunch of push for Disney Plus, and overall, Disney Plus is an underwhelming service. I keep it for the channel, but I don't really watch it. It's great to have Star Wars at my fingertips, but I got the disc. I got the other versions of the film as well. It's great to be able to watch Marvel movies as soon as they hit, but the Marvel movies just aren't worth it. The Pixar movies just aren't worth it. I may be a grown-ass man, but even I still enjoy art. I enjoy animated films. I will watch an animated film before anything else. Why? Because of the artistry behind it. I look at the visuals. I look at the story as well. But an animated film is the culmination of hundreds of artists and some writers and a lot of technicians. And the people that are being let go are the people who are at the foundation of these projects, and let's be honest, they're the replaceable ones, sadly. It's the people at the top with the bad business decisions, the bad ideologies, the bad intentions for audiences. They're the ones that are still around. The people that made Lightyear a movie are still around at Disney, and that's the problem. Getting rid of the artisans, getting rid of the workhorses, getting rid of the people who make the work possible, those aren't the ones you need to get rid of. You need to get rid of the trash at the top. They always say the cream rises to the top, but not in this case. Now let's give you a little more context to the story, shall we? Pixar employees have known since January that layoffs were coming. If there's some solace to be had, it's that reductions are less than 20% reported in January by some news outlets, nor is Pixar being singled out. These were layoffs across all of Disney last year, but cuts at Pixar were delayed because of the production schedule, sources say. Pixar, led by Pete Docter, will no longer be focusing on direct-to-streaming series, but on its feature films. That excludes Win or Lose, which is set to debut this year. The once invincible animation studio offered a major setback during the pandemic era when the Chapek regime decided to send out Luca, Soul, and Turning Red straight to Disney+, even though cinemas had begun to reopen or were in full recovery mode. And then its first post-COVID theatrical release, Lightyear, was mostly dismissed by critics and audiences, exposing Pixar to ongoing scrutiny. Again, let's talk about that scrutiny. This is a Disney problem. It's not just a Pixar problem, but it's a Disney problem. The people around the world have spoken with their wallets. They don't want your garbage ideology in their films. It's as simple as that. See, Disney, you gotta remember that people are people no matter what. The pandemic may have changed certain things, but you're not gonna get people to change their views overall and overnight. So maybe if you stop putting that kind of crap in your films, people would watch. Just because I have issues with that being in a film doesn't mean I have issues with that in the real world. But remember, Pixar movies are mostly for children and families. Families are very protective about what their children see. And what is appropriate for a child is subjective to the family. That is the hard lesson that Disney is learning. This stupid utopia that they're trying to create where everyone's represented, no one's offended, the past doesn't exist, is not sustainable. No one wants your Princess and the Frog ride, they want Splash Mountain. Nobody wants lesbian romances in Lightyear, they want Buzz Lightyear to be a goddamn toy. Not only did Lightyear fail because you put same-sex romance in it that didn't let it be viewed around the world, you made a pointless movie. Buzz Lightyear is a toy. He is a child's plaything. The fact that you tried to make a movie about the character that the toy is based on failed miserably because people don't want your meta garbage. People don't want pointless stories. People don't want Chris Evans taking over for Tim Allen because Tim Allen's a Republican. Well, fuck you, Disney. People want Tim Allen because he's the voice of Buzz Lightyear. And why is he coming back? Because Lightyear failed. See, folks, I said this on last night's podcast. It doesn't matter how many times a big brand or IP fails, they will keep trying. So don't worry. Don't ever be guilted into supporting a franchise because this is the last time. If you don't like a Spider-Man movie, don't go see it because guess what? They're going to make Spider-Man movies again. They could fail 10 times in a row with a Spider-Man film, but on the 11th try, people are still going to show up. And if that one's good, then it'll be like the other ones don't exist because these properties have the ability to do that. These companies will always pump money into them. They will always make sure that the big things stick around forever. So don't hesitate to ignore a big budget IP or a franchise because guess what? They're coming back with more. Lightyear shit the bed, but there will be a Toy Story 5 and everyone will go, oh great, Toy Story's back. It's exactly how it should be, about a bunch of toys who come to life when their owner disappears or goes to school or goes to a birthday party. It doesn't matter where the owner goes. It's the fact that Toy Story is about toys. End of story. I find it funny how they want to blame Bob Chapek's regime for all of these decisions, but Bob Chapek was a flash-in-the-pan moment in the history of Disney, and he was picking up what Bob Iger was putting down. So all you get in the press is excuses for that asshole. And yeah, I called this guy right here an asshole. He is an asshole. He has ruined entertainment from Disney. He is the most greedy, irresponsible businessman ever. But Jeff, you would say, businessmen are supposed to bring in money for a company. His decisions, ideals, and garbage have hurt Disney. It ain't Bob Chapek. Oh, he rushed out a movie to streaming instead of theaters? Guess what? The movies that were greenlit at Disney weren't movies that were made under his regime. Bob Iger, his regime, they made this crap. It only comes out years later because these projects take forever. So it doesn't matter if it was the pandemic, it doesn't matter if it's Iger, it doesn't matter if it's Chapek. Those movies that were produced as is suck and nobody wants them. Stop trying to act like it's Bob Chapek's fault or the economy or the pandemic or any of these things. They only use the pandemic as an excuse for Disney. That shit is years gone at this point, so stop talking about it. If a movie flops, guess what? It flops because it's not interesting. Are people going out to see movies in theaters? Yes, they are. Not garbage movies. Disney had a record-breaking, terrible year. They lost over $620 million alone across 4 films. 4 films. Don't act like it's the pandemic anymore. Don't act like people are crazy or they're doing stuff. Oh, the movies came out during the summer. No, they didn't. They came out at any point in the year, and they all lost money. It doesn't matter what Disney does until they root out the problem. And the problem is garbage, bullshit, ideology. No one likes it. No one benefits. The fans hate it. The box office hates it. Anybody that's not Disney or the people who huff their own farts out in Hollywood, we all hate it. It doesn't benefit us. It doesn't represent us. It doesn't do anything but piss us off. So that is why Pixar has to close. It's not Bob Chapek. It's not the pandemic. It's not just 3 films. It's a lot of people at Disney. It's the whole company. It's poisoned. It's a poisoned well. There is no other entertainment company out there that is this poor. There is no other entertainment company out there that is this embarrassing. And there's very few entertainment companies out there that are this blind. I get it. Some companies, they have their heads up their asses just as much as Disney. But Disney is the king. It's the top. It's number one. And like we say here on this channel, when Disney is number one in entertainment, the entertainment world suffers. When Disney takes a back seat and goes exactly where they belong for kids and families, well then guess what? Everything works out. But when Disney has the biggest IPs and the biggest franchises, the Disneyfication of pop culture has happened. And guess what? It happened and it sucked. Disney is like McDonald's. Crappy products, but hey, it reaches 1 billion people, so it has to be good, right? Right? If the Big Mac is your favorite cheeseburger, well, more power to you. Most of us have a more refined palate, and while Mac sauce is great and definitely is full of MSG to get you pumped and wanting more, your average consumer likes something with a little higher quality, something that's a little healthier, and something that, quite frankly, tastes better. You may get your rush of sodium and sugar, but at the end of the day, it's still trash. Your body is not going to like it. You're going to crap it out, move on to the next one, but you'll be a little lesser, and you'll feel a little more shame the next time you look at a Big Mac or look in a mirror. That's how people who blindly consume Disney should feel. You should look in a mirror and question, am I to blame? Actually, no, you're not to blame. But look, I'll be honest for a minute. Stop buying into their shit, okay? Just because you see this Marvel movie doesn't mean all the other Marvel movies are going to be hot or lit or hype or any of that other bullshit that you people say on social media. Use your words, use your brains, and you know what? Use your wallets. I am so happy and thankful for all the people out there that have spoken up with their wallet. Don't go see these movies unless you want to support Disney. And a lot of you don't want to support Disney. The only way for you to win and get rid of them is to blindly reject everything they put out and move on to something else. You can support independent creators like me with Wokebusters and Stealing Solo, which lampoons Disney Star Wars completely. Everything that Disney Star Wars was before The Rise of Skywalker is lampooned in Stealing Solo. And folks, there's only a couple hundred copies left, and then when I do get rid of it, I'll be making you the sequel, which will kind of lampoon. Put it like this: if Stealing Solo lampoons The Force Awakens, the second book, Shadows of Bullshit, Stealing Solo 2, parodies The Last Jedi, and finally, Frankenfisher, The Bride of Solo, parodies Episode 9, and that one is where they literally dig up Carrie Fisher and reanimate her corpse to make a Star Wars movie. I don't like what Disney does. I don't like how they treat our entertainment. A lot of people have an emotional connection to these things. They watched them as a child. They watched them with family members who are no longer with us. Those are the types of memories you can't take away from people. All you do today, Disney, is you try to release an inferior version of said film to audiences. And what are they left with? An inferior film. We're all disappointed in that garbage. So maybe you should stop, go back to formula, and fix everything at the core. You have one more shot. With Marvel, you have one more shot. Well, you're actually out of shots. If you had a chance, you don't have a chance. But if you had a chance, you better run lickety-split. Because Star Wars is fucking ruined. There's no more chances. There's no chance in hell that the Acolyte redeems Disney+. There will be no metrics to show you, oh, The Acolyte is the #1 show in the history of Disney+. No one gives a damn about it. If people don't care about Star Wars that feature Luke Skywalker and the iconic classic characters, who's going to care about Trinity from The Matrix and a bunch of LGBTQ characters that run around and fucking swing on lightsaber whips? Don't get me started on lightsaber whips, folks. They make no sense. We'll make a video on them separately. So, folks, what do you think about this entire situation? I know I went off on a tangent, but that is what is going on with Disney, and that is how passionate I am about entertainment. I have dedicated my life to entertainment. Not about laying around watching movies, but consuming the stuff that I enjoy, reading the books that help you become a better creator, and then making the stuff myself. Folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for making this possible. Hit that thumbs up button to let YouTube know that you enjoy this content, and join us each and every Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for WCBS The Show. This week is episode 401. What are we going to do? Well, last week was a banger. We broke some records, and this week we're going to do it again. So, folks, each and every Thursday night at 8:30 p.m., that time slot belongs to WCBS. Accept no substitutes and don't watch any lesser shows. We'll be back then with more. But in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.